And I think with the stock market, it's tangible. You just need a laptop or, a phone. You didn't really kind of need as much stuff like with the small business. You need a lot. And that industry is constantly changing. With the stock market, has been around forever. For me, it's having multiple streams of income. Like, okay, yeah, I do real estate, I own properties, I have tenants. Okay, so then what else?
We're just regular people trying to do the best that we can with the information that we got.
It's like, granted, this is the Navy, this is the military and whatever, but they treating this like the 9 to 5, and like some of them were like hardcore traders. Just use my money in a more wiser way. I think the stock market as a whole is going to be that thing for me.
Man, what happens if I really get this down? What happens if I really get this to work?
Why not add more income? Why not add more tools? Why not add more resources to your own pot? Just why not? I mean, that's how I feel about it. Like, why not me?
So Keshawna, awesome. Welcome to the podcast. Would love to just share or take me back to when you first got started or introduced to the stock market. So what made you believe or think like this could be a viable industry for you to make money in or accomplish some of your dreams and goals? Like, what was your first introduction to like, I need to learn more about the stock market, even before, joining our platform and becoming a member? Like, what was your first exposure to this industry?
So for me, I'm deep from Detroit. So I was actually,
My
so
hometown.
I was stationed back at home in 2015 to 2019. And I joined this new church, and my pastor, he was a options trader. And of course, I got to the church on the latter end. So you actually taught a class at my church.
Better
And,
life.
yep, Better Life Church. And so, granted, I wasn't there. I didn't really know them, but I remember asking one of the members. I'm like, because my pastor here had flew somebody in to teach us how to trade, and this was like forex type stuff like that. So he was doing that, but he also was still trading options. And I'm like, man, I want to know how to do that too, because he was doing it. And so one of the members told me about you, and she was like, oh, he was like, yeah, Jason taught. He did a little class or something here before, and so that's what just sparked me. And then I found all your YouTubes, and then I just started kind of digging in little by little, and that's how I initially got started. And then of course I had some friends around, on different ships, different platforms that were already trading options. It seemed like from that point on, every command I would go to, like my ear would hear that. Like somebody be like, "Oh, Dogecoin." I'm like, so it's like always hearing about the stock market. So I can never really get away from it.
Yeah, so it's just kind of all around you. And I said this before we started that I wanted to say thank you for your service officially on camera. So we appreciate what you do. I love that you're in the full uniform representing. So again, thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
So yeah, so you're exposed to the stock market through hearsay, the church, which that was one of the churches we did the seminar for. It's actually we put a speaker reel on our website from that 4 week seminar for that we did at that church. And first, before we go into like more of your journey, I love that when churches expose their members to the stock market or investing, because for the longest time, it seemed like churches, at least when I was little, sometimes it seemed like the church shunned making money. It seemed like people who had money or were rich were like the devil and like evil, or like they stepped on somebody to get where they are at. And that's not always the case. And I did a podcast called God Wants You to Be Rich. Did you listen to that one at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I really do believe that, who better than to have the money in their hand than Christians or people of faith? And typically those are the people who want to give back to the community, who want to solve water crises and, just help people, give out Christmas and Thanksgiving back. Like those are two people who want to live open-handedly with the money, not necessarily just keep it all for themselves. But
Right.
coming up, usually those are the people who are the most like money's evil and we we don't need, we shouldn't try to get rich. So that's super cool that the church that you went to was talking about the stock market. So you've been hearing about it, church talking about it, friends are talking about it. You find me, you get involved. So what was it about the industry though that made you say, or what were some of your goals and dreams that you said, I think the stock market could help me? Because I mean, you could have did a lot of different things. You could have tried to start a small business, could have joined multi-level marketing. You could have drove Uber on the weekends as a side hustle. What was it about the stock market compared to like your dreams and goals that she was like, I think this is the vehicle for me?
I think for me, I'm not gonna say I'll try everything. So I did try. I had a small business. I tried it out, and I was like, okay, not right now. I don't think this is for me in this season. So no. And then, like I said, with the knowledge part, it's like you need knowledge to kind of do any of those things. And so for me, it's having, you know, multiple streams of income. Like, okay, yeah, I do real estate, I own properties, I have tenants. Okay, so then what else? And then I'm like, and then mind you, by the way, I have a son, so I'm like teaching him. And so it's like if it's exciting to me, if I believe in it, then I'm gonna put something to it and then just add that to the other eggs in my basket. And I think with the stock market, it's tangible. You just need a laptop or, a phone. You didn't really kind of need as much stuff like with the small business. You need a lot. And then that industry is constantly changing. Well, the stock market has been around forever. And it's always stuff to be gained. But I think at the time it was just like, man, I could be on the ship trading. I can go, I'm at work. I can get on the computer trading. So it was just like, this was, it's so doable.
Yeah, it's one of those sectors or industries where you really, if you got a laptop, obviously you need a little bit of money, but if you got a laptop, high-speed internet connection, you can do it from anywhere in the world, which you being in the Navy is such a powerful thing because you said you're like, I don't know where I'm gonna be stationed, I don't know where I'm gonna be at. But no matter where you're at, the stock market is going to continue to be open from 9:30 to 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And as long as you got a laptop and the internet, you can make money from it. So I shouldn't say, so Lily, I don't know if you know Lily. Lily was also in the service. And Lily, if you're watching this, but I didn't say it on your episode, thank you for your service as well. But she is out of service now, and she's just, I think you call it civilian, just a
Yeah.
normal civilian. And so you being like active and in service, what's share with us the insight of somebody being in service in this industry and what it could possibly mean for them. And the reason let me ask it a different way. I'm interested because I run, here in Michigan, we have the, what's the Air Force? I mean, we got that big Air Force base where people work out of. Now I'm drawing a blank. Why can't I think of
The
the
Air Force,
huge
I know it's an army base.
suffrage? Yes, the Army base, suffrage. We
Yeah,
got suffrage. I think it's Suffrage Air Base. That's why, or
yeah.
maybe it's Suffrage Army Base. But huge, huge base that's inactive, but active from a standpoint that a lot of the government employees and people in service for the different various jobs work there, and so we run into a lot of different, military, Navy, Army, whether that's wives, spouses, or husbands that are like, I'm looking for work because we could get deployed or shipped around different places. So many have thought about the stock market as a potential tool. So you know, what's the conversations like behind the walls about investing when you have a profession that kind of moves you around so much? Like, do you see a lot of people talking about that? Like, I wish I can get in the stock market. It would be perfect for my spouse who can't really hold down a regular job because we're always moving. What's the conversation like behind the walls that you get privy to that we don't?
So and my few little run-ins being on the ship, and this was like not too long ago, because I started your program and then like I don't know, I think I just got overwhelmed with like everything. It's a lot of smart guys. It's a lot of smart people that I literally would sit next to, and they'll be telling me about like the news or like they tuned in. It's like, granted, this is the Navy, this is the military and whatever, but they treating this like the 9 to 5, and like some of them were like hardcore traders. Like there's a couple of guys that I work with over here, and one of the guys, he's an MA1, and he's like, he'll get his work done, but then when the stock market open, he gone. He like, you know what I mean? So, some people that's like that does our actual job, this military job, like it's a side job, and then they're like full term, they got their ears plugged in, they know what's going on, even down to like our TSP, which it tracks some of the stuff like S&P 500, and they like, oh yeah, I'm gonna move my money out of here because this is what's happening over here. For me, it's like I'm always like, man, can you train me? Like, what you know that I don't know? Like, what's up? So it's just always informational for me, and I don't feel
Yeah.
either. Like before, I used to be like, man, I don't know who to talk to about some of this stuff. I had to wait if I get on a call or something. But now it's like regular conversation.
So cool to hear that they're tapped into it because obviously you're going to get out of the Navy, you're going to get out of the military, or for persons in the Army, they're going to get out of service at some point. And it's so nice to have a skill that whether you choose to work or not, you can have your money working for you
Right.
inside of the stock market. In fact, I initially tried to do some stuff with the government and the military and Army and Navy space. I was trying to get our program approved so that they could use their, I forget what it's called, but it's like a stipend as long as it goes towards some type of educational institution where they can get a certificate. But they said I had to have a brick and mortar place and you had to have a physical location. I'm like, oh, you can't use it for online. And so that was super disappointing that they couldn't use that stipend to come learn about the stock market online unless I had a physical location. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So right now they actually pushing this $1 million sailor program, but it's offered by civilians, of course, in the civilian sector and whatever. But it's not. It's really like the ABCs of stock market. Like it don't really kind of dive into some of the information I think you need, and then some of the stuff be outdated. Like I'm just like, okay. I mean, so they got a little something, but not nothing for real.
Yeah. Well, if you ever hear something where they like, we need a new trainer or coach, or how can we bring someone? Like, I'm raising my hand because I
That's
really would love to plug in to that sector. And I really think, if you could use, I forget what it's called, a TSP or something where you get like tuition reimbursement. Am I saying that right? The
yeah,
TSP?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that would just be such a cool way to allow individuals and service to use their money. So people are plugged in, they're looking at the stock market, they're following the market, they're investing. And because you have the education now, you don't feel like an outcast. You can kind of pay attention and participate in those conversations. Because sometimes when you're around people who talk about the stock market, if you don't understand how it works, most people kind of stick their heads in the sand like an ostrich. Like, I don't know what they're talking about, so I'm just gonna sit over here in the corner. But it's cool that you can jump in those conversations and vibe with them. So tell me more about, you said you started and then you stopped. I saw you wrote that in one of the questions that you answered. You started, got a little discouraged, came back. What was it about just the industry that caused you maybe overwhelmed and say, maybe I'm gonna take a step back? And then how did you bounce back from that? Because people think it's just a smooth journey. You signed up, you bought some stocks, now you're rich and you're retiring from the Navy from your stocks. And they don't really see like, I signed up, I took a break, I got overwhelmed, I came back, now I'm starting to fight through to become profitable. So can you share that journey with us? Like, what was overwhelming? What made you take a break? But more importantly, what brought you back?
So I think I was listening to too many people. So I just had like too much noise in my ears about the stock market. And I'm talking about like people who don't got no skin in the game, not sticking to a trading plan, the knowledge piece, like just having a little bit of knowledge can only get you so far. So not just kind of like not even staying the knowledge course. I think it was kind of getting boring, like which it is essentially in the beginning because you got to learn everything and you seeing everybody kind of jumping in. And so what happened was like in my knowledge phase, I got all this noise of people who was actually trading, and then I went and started trading, and then I lost my money, and then it just was like, ugh. And that is what made it sour. And then I went on deployment and I was like, all right, when I come back, maybe I'll just go back, step one. And that's what I'm doing now. Like now I'm simmered down. I'm tuned in. So now I'm just like, I'm not in a rush no more. Like I'm cool.
Yeah, that's very interesting you say that. I believe a lot of people come into this game for the excitement, number one. And in the beginning, you're right, it's boring because we tell you practice. Don't even put real money together. And I was talking about this in the last episode where people just want to put real money and they want to jump in, then they end up blowing up their account. Then they get even more discouraged because they're like, I rushed it. I don't really know what I'm doing. I lost a little bit of money that I had to get started. And then they get kicked out of the system. But then you hit on another point that is so important, even for me as a trader. People sometimes ask me, like, well, who do you follow or who do you listen to? And I'm like, nobody. And it's not like a joke, it's not like an ego thing because I'm a YouTuber and I found myself. I used to watch CNBC faithfully, listen to Kramer. I used to go on YouTube, listen to other traders just because I just was so infatuated with the industry.
Yeah.
I found that every time I listened to other people, I either made the wrong decision or I felt bad about what I was doing for whatever reason. And it was like, maybe I should be trading Forex. Maybe I should be trading Bitcoin. Even though I'm like, no, I'm an options trader and I make a ton of money
Right.
from it. It's just something about having that noise from all these different places that, like, I'm like, this literally feeds my family, paid off my house. Sometimes I'd be like, maybe I should be looking at Bitcoin. Maybe, and I'm like, no, I don't even know why Bitcoin even moves up or down. So I actually start unsubscribing from other people I follow on Instagram. I stopped following people on YouTube because I was just like, I know what I'm doing. I believe in what I'm doing. I'm making money from what I'm doing. I'm teaching people. And over the years, I've even stopped watching CNBC. Like I used to watch that stuff faithfully, but over the last probably 3 years, like, I mean, I was watching it more during the pandemic when we were in lockdown, but I think after that, really just turned it off. Like, I don't even turn it on because a lot of times it's just a bunch of noise. It's a bunch
Yep.
of random stuff.
Yep. I agree. I see some of the guys on there, they be watching it like addicts, like, and I was just like, man, I don't think that's for me. I just kind of want to just not be so rushy about the whole thing.
Yeah, or I watch it now to say, how do I want to go research that topic? I believe that's another thing. I used to watch it with the intent of like, they're going to tell me what to do or give me an edge. Now that I realize they don't really have an edge, they're just news reporters. They're just selling airspace. They got to keep it hyped up so people tune in and keep the ratings high. But I'm like, are they really trading? Are they really making money? And then you find out a lot of the news anchors can't even trade. They can't trade because they work for CNBC in these places. They actually they have to sign in their agreement, like they can't invest in stocks on their own. They can't buy single stocks. They typically can't invest on their
Mm,
own because they are reporting on this information. I thought that's even interesting. So, like, you really are not a trade. Doesn't mean they don't have a passion for the market, but I had to kind of filter that as like, yeah, but they're not trading. They're not out here actually in the trenches, win, lose, or draw, making money, which I thought once again just kind of confirmed like maybe I don't need to be following these guys on the news and stuff like that. But it happens to all of us. So I
yeah,
appreciate you sharing that because there's a lot of noise out here.
yes, it is. Way too much noise sometimes.
Way too much noise. And so when you came back focused and was like, I'm rejoining Power Trade University, what made you come back home? I mean, I guess you could have went anywhere for that matter, but what made you come back to this style of learning or learning from me and what we've put together? I'm just personally curious.
So of course I looked around and it wasn't really no passionate teachers like that really genuinely wanted to teach people how to trade. I mean, you can listen to a podcast and not know you from a can of paint, and you can just that sincerity was there for me. Of course, there was a couple of other things. I mean, you don't have to inadvertently tell me you're a Christian, but like that one podcast where you was talking about God, I was like, okay, like It matters to me. It might not matter to other people and whatever, but it just made it more personal. Like I said, you taught at my church and you actually are successful. You tell us from the beginning to the end, like when you was at Verizon, like when you lost all your money, when you made so it's just all those personal stories. It brings it home for me. Like I don't want somebody just in there telling me how to trade. I want to know about you and your journey as well. So that's really what did it for me. And then when I left, I think Michaela hit me up a few times, like, you coming back? Like, and it was like reminding me, like, yeah, you remember you used to be a part of this. And I'm like, yeah. And then when I got married, I was telling my husband about trade. I'm like, yeah, babe, I'm getting closer to retirement. I gotta get serious and figure out what I want to do. And I know I don't want to go work another 9 to 5, at least not right away. So
Yeah.
here I
Yeah,
am.
that's a very real thing too, retiring from service and then having to get a civilian job. That's a whole nother thing I didn't even think about. And so as we get ready to wrap this up, I always ask what's a financial win, but either a financial win that you've had or a non-financial win that you want to share, whether that's something personal, personal development, personal growth from this industry, either or both. What's either a financial win or a non-financial win that you would say this industry has like blessed you with?
So for as a financial win, I think this the industry as a whole has just taught me to how like I look at money different. I look at it more so as a tool. And so with that tool, I need to be either, using it or applying it to somewhere. I think the tool sitting still is useless to me. Just use my money in a more wiser way, grow it, just seeing what I can really do, what I've been blessed with, other than what I didn't know. I think the stock market as a whole is going to be that thing for me.
Yeah, and you said like seeing what you can really do with it and grow with it. That word, what I can really do, just resonates with me because I used to say like, man, what happens if I really get this down? What happens if I really get this to work? And I know really can mean something different for each person, but for me, it was like I could pay off my house early. Even before I paid it off, I was like, if this really works, I see a way to drive the dream car, the dream house, to be home with my kids. And everybody, like I said, that really means something different. Like, I really could contribute to my church. I really could take that trip around the world. I really can get my grandmother the best healthcare in her final years. I think that is different for everybody, but that word you just said, it's like, what could I really do with this
Right.
money? Is like, yeah, like, do people really stop and think, like, what can you really do when you can make money that's not limited by 8 hours in a day, not limited by how many days you can work, no salary cap? Like, you really can go after this thing. Super, 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 super powerful. And so, what would you say to? I'm going to ask you a two-part question. I normally just ask, what would you say to women looking to get into this industry? But I want to do a two-part question. So, one, we could do, what would you say to women looking to get into this industry? At this point, we've had stay-at-home mom, we had entrepreneurs, we've had, I mean, hairstylists, we've had some of everybody, which is super cool. And now we have an active service member. So, like, from the one end to the opposite end and everywhere in between, what would you say to women who are just like, man, I'm thinking about it or looking at the stock market industry to get into it?
To women, I think women should know that, you know, the stock market doesn't stop the other goals you have, the other business you want to start. It doesn't stop you from being a mother. So why not
Mm.
add more income? Why not add more tools? Why not add more resources to your own pot that you already have? Just why not? Yeah, I mean that's how I feel about it. Like why not me?
I
Like
like that. Don't stop you from doing other stuff, and why not you, right? Yeah,
no, I
because you don't have to give up being a mom, a wife, whatever else you want to label yourself as, because we wear so many hats, especially women, because they're powerful people, right? I don't know that the dads and the men wear as many hats, but the women wear so many hats, and it doesn't stop you from wearing some of those other hats or other responsibilities. If anything, it could help aid towards that. So, and then the second part to that question is what would you say to someone who's in service thinking about getting into the stock market? Somebody who's serving the country in the capacity of the Navy, the Army, the military, you name it. What would you say to them who's thinking about getting into, or they're not investing in the stock market, or they're thinking about getting into it? What would your message be to them?
Well, for all my military personnel, we actually get spoiled the most. And I don't know, everybody genuinely has a TSP, so you already investing in the stock market, whether you know it or not. Now, what funds you put it in, it just depends on that person and what, if they even researched it. So for military, I think we have so much time on our hands. We have so many opportunities. Like the stock market, granted, they don't teach us how to do this, but this is the perfect time to do it. Right before you getting ready to retire or not, you can be educating yourself along the way and be securing another bag before you get out. It's like I said, it's just like it's for moms, it's for service people. We already doing
Yeah, that's
it.
awesome. I like that. Secure another bag before you get ready to get out. And once you get this education, it really helps you decide where your money's going, what you're picking, and understanding the options that they're even giving you. Because sometimes people don't make the right picks because they don't even understand why they would pick this fund over that fund that they're offering them. So I appreciate you sharing that. Any final words before we wrap up, or anything you wanted to talk about or share before we get out of here?
I don't think I have any sidebar questions. You really do a wonderful job. I appreciate every podcast, all the trainings you have in the forum. So I just thank you for taking your time out to speak with me today.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking your time out to speak with me. When we first put the request out there, I was like, man, I want to start talking to some of our community and specifically our female traders. I didn't know what kind of response we would get because I know sometimes people are nervous to get on camera, but I'm just so grateful for you and the other women who showed up and was like, yes, I want to share my side of the story and what this industry has done for me, whether that's made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, paper trade, and only left and coming back home. I think all these stories are super valuable so that people can just understand that we're just regular people trying to do the best that we can with the information that we got. And I think if more people realize we're not special, but the information is, and we're just trying to use that specialized information to make our lives better, more people will gravitate towards this industry versus thinking it's only for a unique set of people who were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And that's not the case. So, Keshawna, I thank you for spending some time with me. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.